Good afternoon, everybody. Great to have you with us here this afternoon. We're going to have the Coach Dave Pimper. He's going to talk about Roth conversions. Very hot topic right now for good reason. There's a lot of things that make Roth conversions not only very beneficial for a client, but very timely. And Dave will talk us through that a little bit. As you know, this is just a quick 20 for 20 webinar. So we're going to try and get through and give you a really good focus on a very specific topic in a very short period of time. And so assisting with that is the Coach Dave Pimper. And Dave, I'm going to go ahead and turn it right over to you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Steve. And thanks, everybody, for being on the line and for this webinar today. My name is Dave Pimper. Been in the business for 41 years. That seems like a long time. It's gone pretty quickly. I certainly do my share of guaranteed products, fixed index, fixed, and I'm securities licensed and background in Social Security. My son runs our Medicare shop, and I do a lot of marketing. And one of the hot points on our radio shows right now are Roth conversions. If you've not done Roth conversions or not bringing it up to people about converting traditional IRAs or 401ks over to Roth, maybe you should be. So those are short webinars. I mean, it's going to be about 10 minutes long, maybe 12 minutes long. If you have questions, though, type them in. We'll be more than happy to go in and to do that for you. So I'll go back one here if I can. Yeah, so you ask yourself a question. Why even, I mean, can you make money off of Roths? No. The conversion itself, you don't make money. If you put it into a new product, that is where the money comes in, but it certainly kind of lets you stand out as an expert. So one thing, Roth conversions, remember Roth investments are tax-free, and what happens is pensions are disappearing. You know, you just aren't seeing many pensions, and people are looking for, when we start talking about a steady stream, like on a fixed indexed, a steady stream or a fixed annuity, a steady stream of tax-free money, that is a hot topic. What happens is that high-income investors, you just ask people, are interest rates, are tax rates going to go up or down in the future? And most everyone is going to say that they're going to go up. It makes that tax-free benefit even more appealing. Okay, every IRA holder used to be you're limited about making. If you made over a certain amount of money, you couldn't Roth convert. That's not the case now. Now there is a certain amount of money, around $278,000. If you make more than that, you cannot do a Roth IRA, but it has nothing to do with Roth conversion. So there are no income limits, there are no conversion limits, which is very nice. Remember this too, there are no required minimum distributions after the conversion. That's a beautiful thing. So if you're married, say it's the husband's and he dies and his wife inherits that or goes in and it's a spousal continuation, there is no RMDs for spouses, only after it leaves the husband and wife. So what you're doing is, if you have $100,000 and you convert 100,000, you are going in and you're converting that 100,000. You owe taxes on 100,000. It might be $30,000, but everything after that, as long as you hold it for 5 years or longer, because every Roth conversion has a 5-year time span to it, but normal types of returns, it takes 7-8 years. And then in a medium tax bracket. If you're in a higher tax bracket, it will go faster. If you're in a lower tax bracket or a no tax bracket, it may not be worthwhile to go in and Roth convert. Most of my people are in a middle to higher tax bracket. Also, when you're converting, remember this, if you've got to pay the conversion at taxes out of the conversion money, now it's makes it a tough haul because it takes 10, 12 years to break even on that, which is a long time, much different than 6-7 years or 5, 6, 7 years on average if you use it on outside money. So we don't like to use conversion money. You got to take that out. Now you're paying taxes on the conversion money. You just certainly don't want to do that. Any questions? Type them in. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So different than Roth. A Roth IRA, whatever you start the first one, that's the start of the first 5-year period in all of the 5-year periods. What happens with conversions, each one is a new conversion 5-year period. Each one is. Okay? If there's that 100,000, maybe coming up with $30,000, $40,000 of income to pay for taxes, that's tough. But that's why we do a lot of partial conversions. Now, when you're doing partial conversions, we know that the tax laws are going to be phasing out in 2025. So you'd like to, right now is a very good time to convert. Remember this, if you withdraw from a Roth after the conversion, it's always the principal money. The first money in is the last money out. Well, that is after tax. It's only the earnings that is grown. That is what you'd go in and really comes into play on that 5-year rule. I had a client, 83 or 4 years of age. He was a well-known banker in my little town of Fremont, outside of Omaha, 30 miles. But he had some children, adult children, and every year he Roth converted money. And I said, I don't think, Jim, you may not live long enough to ever realize the gain of going from your traditional. He goes, oh, this is not for me, Dave. This is for when my kids inherit it, that it will be a tax-free transfer, wealth transfer to those children. Now, they do have required minimum distributions, but that is tax-free. Tax-free beats tax-deferred. Most advisors never bring up conversions, and I think it's a really big thing. I mean, when you talk that language. Okay? Now, here's what to consider before maybe recommending for somebody Roth converts. Are their tax brackets, going to be substantial in the future? If they're not, no, then that tax-free benefit decreases. How soon do you need your money? Really, if you got to even take into principal, which is after-tax money, you got to do it within 5 years. I don't know if it's worthwhile to convert or not. Paying the conversion taxes out of non-IRA money, don't get caught up in the age. The wealth transfer to beneficiaries is a pretty cool thing. You know, Roth income is not included in provisional income for Social Security. Municipal bond tax-free income is, but not Roth money. Roth conversion money, Roth IRAs, any kind of distribution or withdrawal is tax-free if held for 5 years or longer. That is not considered in the provisional income, for Social Security taxes. So why? Why introduce the Roth? Well, I want to tell you right now, it's unique, and it really does help. We do much more Roth and Roth conversion business than traditional IRA business. It's pay me now or pay me later, and the pay me later is what the Roth and Roth conversion is all about. But it creates trust in a relationship because most advisors don't bring that up. It enables you to review all of their statements because you got to look at their whole entire portfolio before you can make that kind of recommendation. But biggest of all, and that's why I've got it boldened here, but it opens up discussions to recommend financial strategies. It creates the opportunity for you to close more business. And it's free. It doesn't cost. You're not marketing it. You're just asking about it. Ed Slott, who is considered really kind of the CPA IRA expert, and is from his retirement savings time bomb book. And if you haven't ever read it, you should. It's extremely good. But he says, quote, Roth IRA conversions are the silver lining to the economic crisis. These may be the lowest tax rates you'll see for the rest of your life. Whether you loved or hated Donald Trump, he did lower taxes for the majority of the people. People who I see, when they can take the standard deduction, of that, $12, almost $13,000 a year, $27,000 if you're over the age of 60, or it's a big, or 60, maybe 65. It's a big deal. And that standard deduction isn't always going to be around because it will be repealed, and it does sunset in the year 2025. Okay. Any questions at all? So you might want to ask yourself, who's a good candidate? Well, who a good candidate is? Someone who wants to manage your tax liability. Steve Murray is the CEO president of Insurance Agency Market Services, but I do a lot of Social Security seminars, and I'm going to continue that. But I have so many clients and prospects asking me about how can they reduce taxation. I'm going to put together a tax seminar and about managing your tax liability. And I'm in the process right now of kind of seeing what other seminars are doing, and I'm cutting out every tax article. I cut out a really great one today. It was through Think Advisor. It's on online, Think Advisor. But they were talking about, is it better to go in on Roth conversions and do it all in one or partial? And one of the interesting thing was, it was talking about IRMA, and that's if you're taking Medicare, that if you make above a certain amount of money, 200 it's about IRMA, I think it may be 170,000, but you pay more. The more you make, the more you pay on that Medicare Part B, which is $171.10, but you pay more than that. So it's talking about if you're doing partials, you might want to look at that, because that's on your supplement and your Part D drug plan. So what happens if you're converting money and you're raising that and you're paying? Do you do it 3 years in a row or 4 years in a row, or just do it all in 1 year and take that hit one time? It's a really, really good question. Those are the kind of tax things that come on up. But I am going to be putting that tax seminar together. I think it will garner a lot of interest. I got a friend right now that is doing one that he created and having very, very good success. So then you got to ask yourself, yeah. So Steve, I just want to let you know that that's kind of a hot topic right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Is taxation. Yeah, very, very hot. So I thought we should kind of jump on that bandwagon. So sorry you had to hear about it on a webinar.
I got some of my best stuff on your webinars, Dave.
You're darn right. You're darn right. Let me say something else real quickly. We're almost done here. But remember, 401ks, you can go in and you might be able to contribute to the 401k Roth, but you certainly can go on in and Roth convert, if you're over the age of 59 and a half and have an in-service non-hardship withdrawal rule, or when that person retires. So don't forget about those company retirement plans. You might as well figure with an average rate of return and an average tax bracket, 5, 6, 7 years to beat that traditional IRA, the value of that. And even if you're older, it could be that legacy that you're leaving, for your kids, and have it to be tax-free, not to have it be taxable. Okay? Now, who's not a good candidate? Well, they need to use the converted funds to pay their taxes. I just don't like doing that. Brings out the break-even way too long. If you expect to be in a lower tax bracket or a no tax bracket in retirement, well, what difference is if it's taxable or tax-free? It would be the same, no taxation. And can't afford in 5 years, you need access to your money. That wouldn't be a good candidate then. So one of the things here is, what's a myth? It's only for the younger people, not for the older. I think that's really cool what I learned from my business banker friend that was up in his 80s. Pretty cool to leave a tax-free estate to your kids. And what happens is that, especially if you could take that and show them how you could put that into maybe some type of a fixed index with a guaranteed income, and maybe those kids are in their 50s or 40s or 50s or 60s, and they could have income tax-free for the rest of their life, sustainable. Pretty strong, powerful stuff. There's an old saying that says, procrastination is my sin. It brings me constant sorrow. I really shouldn't practice it. Perhaps I'll stop. And you know what? Tomorrow never comes. If you heard something today that you liked, we're going to put a poll up. And Steve, you can launch that poll. It just says if you'd like to have more information on Roth conversions, or maybe it's that seminar talking about how to go in on taxes. It might be on Social Security seminars, or just there's a lot of things that I do with IAMS, cohort with IAMS. But he's going to put a poll up, and if you'd like to go in and mark yes on that you would like to get more information, Then Brady Pelzer will give you a quick call. And Steve, are you there?
I
We're
am.
trying to get.
Yep.
Are you having troubles getting that poll up?
No, but I want to flip back to this slide before we do,
Oh,
because
I'm
there's a
sorry.
couple.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
So
Go
there
right
are a
ahead.
couple. Yeah, there are a couple questions that came up regarding this
Okay.
particular slide. So you mentioned at this slide juncture that it may not be good for people that cannot afford to pay the income taxes doing a conversion from other assets. So basically, what you're saying there is if you have to take the taxes, you have to pay your taxes out of the assets you're converting. That's never a good idea. That may not be a good idea. Go through your thinking
Yeah.
on that a little bit.
I would say it may not be a good idea, but it's a strong may. I won't go. It's 80% never. Let me tell you the reason why. Let's say that you're converting $100,000, and let's say there's 30,000 worth of taxes that you got to pay on that upfront. Okay, 30 grand. When you take it out of your money market account, that's after tax money, or you take it away from maybe some other kind of investment, that's after tax money. There's no taxation. But here's what happens. If you have to pay it out of your conversion, let's say then you take $100,000 out. That's what you want to convert.
Mm-hmm.
But now, and you're going to pay taxes on that, right, Steve? But
Correct.
now you got to take out another 30,000 to pay for the taxes. Well, on that 30,000, you know what you also have to pay?
Taxes.
Taxes again.
Yep.
So now 30% on another 30, you got to pay nine grand out. Where do you get that $9,000? Well, you got to pay from taxes. So now you take 9,000 more out and pay taxes. But guess what? Now you got 30% on that 9,000. I mean, it's a snowball effect of taxation.
Right.
So it's doing just the opposite. So that's why it takes it out instead of a break even of 5-6 years at a normal rate of return in a normal tax bracket. It could be out 13 to 15 years. Well, you know what? Rate of return or breaking even in 15 years, I don't like that. That's why I don't recommend it. Do I have people that do it? Yep. But I don't recommend it.
Well, there are, and you know this, Dave, because I think you probably used a couple. There are a number of very good Roth conversion software packages. We can go in and you can kind of show your client the benefits of a Roth conversion and the liabilities of a Roth conversion. We have access to one. We actually have access to.
Steve, does Retirement Analyzer do that? Does it do a Roth conversion?
Yeah, we'll do it.
And I know they just upgraded their platform too a little bit, because I saw some training on that on the new platform with Retirement Analyzer. But that's something that, could you just go into that real quick about the software with people who work with IAMS?
Yeah, so folks that work with IAMS have access to a program that is designed to help people kind of see where they sit on the path towards their retirement goals. And it has a number of modules. It has a Social Security module. It has a Roth conversion module. And we make that available to our producers at our expense. We'll pay your monthly fee for that, because we've seen over the last 15, 17 years, some of our guys have, they would tell us that they don't understand how they ever made a living without it. Other guys are less dependent, but still say, hey, this is really good stuff. And so we've got enough positive feedback over the years that we continue to pay for that for our folks that do business with us. And even if you don't do business with us, if you want to give it a shot for 30 days and see what it looks like, give Marcus in our marketing team a call, or send him an email to Marcus, Marcus, at imsinc.com, and just shoot him an email and say, hey, I'd like to take a quick gander at the Retirement Analyzer software tool. And if you want to get in there, you'll see very quickly as you look at it how you could do like a quick. There are definitely levels of in-depthness to the various Roth conversion software. Some that could show you, hey, what tax bracket or what rate of return, or where you get the assets from, to kind of address what Dave talked about here, where if you're having to take the assets from the conversion to pay the taxes on the conversion, it makes the equation notably different as to whether it makes sense. So yeah, definitely.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry, but I want to say this, because lots of times you'll say it has a value of this $200 or $500. I'll hear on the radio for this financial plan. If you sign up, on the radio, you'll get this. But those are soft dollars. This is hard dollars. And I tell you, Retirement Analyzer, if they were to go out, the advisor with IAMS would go out and buy that. I mean, what's the cost on that? I mean, what's the cost that they would pay like every other person about on that?
It'd be about $950 a year for
it's almost $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost $1,000. So it's a pretty neat thing. And again, I mean, I'm here to talk about Roth conversions, but I thought that retirement analyzer, I mean, it is fairly simple.
It
I
is.
like
Yeah.
simple. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The reason that we
You bet.
like it is because in terms of what you put into the value of what you get out of it, the output of the software, it's as good as any we've seen. I mean, you put in some good basic information, it'll get you a pretty detailed report. So we really like it for that reason. And it does have those modules for Social Security and Roth conversions and some other things that I think a lot of our guys have uh, really gotten to like. I do have a question here. I'm going to throw the poll up, but I went back to another slide, and here we talk about the ability to convert 401k and 403b funds to
Hmm, hmm.
Roths. And so I had a question pop up about that: is how does that work? How do you convert a 401k to a Roth? Can you walk us through that in a little bit more detail,
Yep.
Dave?
Yeah, it was 5, 6 years ago. They changed the rule on this. You couldn't take it directly from the 401k into an to a Roth IRA. You couldn't convert directly. You had to go into an IRA traditional, and then from the IRA into the Roth. But there's just no reason for that. So about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, they changed that rule. And remember, if your client is younger than 59 and a half, they can't do that without a penalty, so they're not going to do it. If they have an in-service non-hardship withdrawal provision on their plan, that allows them to take a portion or normally all of the money out, and they can do whatever they want to it. Then they can take it out, pay taxes on it, but we of course take it out and roll it over to an IRA. But some of the people will do the conversion right there. Maybe we're taking out 300,000 and they want to roll over 50,000, and we roll that over separately into a Roth, making a conversion. You can do that through an in-service, meaning you're still working, you're still contributing, you just don't want all your money or don't want that money in your 401k. Not all companies have it. Bigger companies are more likely to have it than smaller companies. But as you know, Steve, I do a lot of in-service non-hardship withdrawals. In fact, one of our 20 for 20 webinars is on in-service non-hardship withdrawals. It's a kind of a gold mine because lots of times people think, well, if you're not retired, we can't work with your money yet. As you would say, Steve, not so fast, grasshopper.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love it.
I did pop that poll up, so we've got obviously everyone is interested in getting that little white paper on Roth conversions. If you are unable to vote and you want to get that, just give us a call here at the office, 800-255-5055. If you want to spend some time with Dave and talk more about a specific situation, I'll be glad to do that as well. Just hit yes on that poll. I should mention too, David, we just had this yesterday. One of our
Mm-hmm.
vendors, a third party that we work with, has developed a software tool, a seminar, a email approach, the kind of what they call
Oh,
funnel approach on emails, all
uh-huh.
about Roth conversions. And I say that not because,
Interesting.
hey, yeah, everybody ought to get that software stuff, but
It's a hot topic.
it is a hot and really beneficial topic for the right people. It's undeniably valuable for many folks. So
Mm-hmm.
one question came up here while we've been talking. It says, why would you not be in a lower tax bracket once you retire? I would think that you would always be. What would you say to that, Dave? That someone will always be in a
Well,
lower
I got a
tax
perfect.
bracket?
And I'm not joking. I mean, I just had an appointment. It was through Retirement Boss Radio, and he had been a fireman for 25 years in Omaha, Nebraska, and he retired at age 50. 50,
Wow.
which there are, you normally hear 55, but there are some, and Omaha's one that you can go in and he got a pension at 50. So guess what his pension, Steve, was for 25 years, and he retired at age 50. What was his individual pension? How much per year?
A yearly, I'm going to say 67,000.
96,000.
My God.
And he's
And
working
you
for
know,
Nebraska. And he's
verified.
working for Nebraska. We should have been firemen. And he works at Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is a big furniture store. He's in the construction there, and he
Mhm.
makes another 35,000. His wife makes 45. Well, think about that. They're making. When he was a fireman, he may have been making 100 grand, but maybe he wasn't. So I'll tell you, when we see teachers, lots of teachers that make more money, in retirement than they did when they were teaching. So that just,
That's one way.
it doesn't always happen, but it does. In the old days when they came out with IRAs, like back when I was showing them in the early 80s when I started, I mean, you could do a $1,500 IRA. That was what they originally were, and they didn't go to 2000 until the mid 80s. But what happens is the reason they took out traditional is because we would say, and when you retire, of course, your income will be lower, but that's not always the case now, especially when you start, if you got quite a big traditional 401ks or IRAs, say you've got a couple million or $1 million, and all of a sudden you start taking your RMDs out. Well, it's 3.65, $36,500 per million. That's all taxable. And then every single year, that RMD goes up and up and up. So when you start taking out 5, 6, 7% RMDs on hundreds and hundreds of thousands, that increases. So I'm just saying that's how you get higher, or just as high, if not higher, income tax brackets when you're retired.
Well, and then there's always the question of, are taxes going to go higher as time goes on here? I mean, you might.
Steve. That's not a question. It's a statement.
It is a
Re-say that, would you?
Yeah.
They are going to go higher. Yeah.
There's no way to avoid it.
Absolutely.
So there's a couple things going on there for sure. And you have to think about too, if you can talk to your client about a way to convert assets from 100% taxable to non-taxable in retirement. There's a lot of things that are tied to your taxable income in retirement. Social Security, you mentioned Medicare, the cost of Medicare. There's a lot of things that are not.
Your IRMA supplement. We talked about that. There is on. Yeah, you already said Medicare. It goes up from your 1.9% to 2.5%, all the way up to there are so many things that are they're not actually hidden, but you don't think about them until you pay it.
Right, and they're not called taxes, but they kind of are. Crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep. So we've gone over a little bit. Let me just double check and let me see if there's any more questions here.
And thank you, everybody, for being on. We're going to have a lot more subjects here in the future. I'm a little behind on that. I'm going to come on out with a couple new 20 for 20s here in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. Look for them. They're short. We're going to have them. We want to do them within 15 minutes and we're right at our time limit. Take it a half an hour at the longest. We know everybody is busy, but I'll tell you right now, the safety-minded type of investments, i.e., fixed index, fixed universal life, they're hot right now. And Steve, I would say that I mean, without saying too much, but your business at IAMS, I would think that it's nearly as good as it's ever been right now.
Yes, yeah, I would say we just came off our best month ever, and it was the month of June, which is not necessarily going to always be your best month of doing business. So I expect, with market turmoil, interest rates going up, certainly no doubt that that's a little bit of a recipe for success in the insured products type business, which is a key part of our business here at IAM. So yes, thank you for mentioning that, Dave.
Oh, you bet. Congratulations. That's great. But it is. I mean, people are worried about portfolios. They're looking for anchors. If they've invested before, you know what? All those years they made good money being partially in the market. That's wonderful. But I'm telling you, the last 6 months, they've slowly forgot about those gains when they get their statement. And I had a guy come in today, exact same thing, and he just says, "Look, I don't want to get." He said, "I don't even want to open up my second quarter statement." And I said, "Well, you need to." He goes, "Well, I'm afraid of what it'll be." I said, "Well, it's going to be down." He has about 800,000, and I told him about looking at his investments of how much it is, and he just looked. I said, "So tell me the reason you're here today." And he goes, "Because I need to go in and I need to find something that's not going to go down in value." That's common, and that's why business in our that guaranteed industry right now, you need to take advantage of that because we can help a lot of people and in turn help ourselves too.
Yep. One thing too about Roth conversions that I'll mention, because it comes up when I talk to guys a lot about that use income riders. I know you're not a huge fan of income riders, Dave,
right.
But when you look at the opportunity to convert someone from a a taxable stream of income that could go away to a non-taxable stream of income that is guaranteed for as long as they live, it's really a powerful
It
it's a
is.
powerful thing to talk to even clients about, or even when you're talking to folks that maybe are not clients, or if you do a seminar and if you ended up by and saying, and one more thing, if you don't know how to do this, come and see me. And don't, if you don't know how to take and build a income stream that cannot go away and is
Yep.
not taxable, stop by after the seminar and see me. And if you don't have people coming up after the seminar and saying, no, walk me through that, I would be
Well,
very surprised.
you know what, Steve, and you're so right. Another thing is how many agents or advisors actually bring that up? Not
Not
many.
enough, not
You're
enough.
unique.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. Good point.
Good. Well, we have gone over. I don't see any more questions that have come up other than the ones that we've already addressed. We will get that white paper out to everyone. And certainly, if you want to take a moment of Dave's time, which most of you do, Brady will give you a call here shortly. We'll set up a quick time. And that conversation will be with Dave. It won't be with, someone in Lazarus coaching. It'll actually be with Dave Pimper. So should be some time valuably spent because he is doing exactly what you're doing day in and day out. And
Yep.
encountering the same things, same objections, and same hurdles that you're running into every day yourself. So always good to spend a few minutes with Dave. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dave. I know your schedule is full. I appreciate you
It
taking a
is.
few
Yeah.
minutes with us. Yeah.
You bet.
Congratulations on that, by the way. Everybody
Yep.
have a
Thank you.
great finish to your week. Thank you, Dave.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. Bye bye.